A seasoned camper in Western Australia stumbled onto a massive game trail, then saw 4 thick fingers slide behind a tree. He froze. A 4 to 5 foot red-black hairy beast stepped into view, raised its arms, and charged at him. He snapped into a taekwondo stance, and it retreated and bolted uphill. At the top, screaming like hell, it hurled a rock at him, just missing his face. Days later, a 30-foot tall X structure had appeared in the same spot. Whatever it wasn't human. I'm Uncle Perry. I don't just tell stories, I dig up the fucked up ones most folks are too chicken shit to talk about. And I do it in a cavalier kind of way. When it comes to cryptids, I chase down the truth behind the legends. Today, we're going down under and investigating Bigfoot's pissed off cousin, the Yowie. Oh, hell yeah. You're gonna like this. It's time to crack a beer, hang on to your ass, and let's get it! The Yowie is a fucking monster-ass bipedal cryptid native to Australia. It's commonly described as towering between 6'11" and 12 feet tall, with a muscular humanoid build, cloaked in thick, dark fur, and weighing in at around 1,000 pounds. So it's like Bigfoot roided out. Its face is ape-like with a caveman brow ridge, deep-set eyes, a wide, flat nose, and a massive jaw, sometimes bearing fangs or tusks. Witnesses report large feet, talon-like fingers, and a rank, musky odor. Aboriginal lore speaks of guttural screams echoing through the bush. Thought to be an omnivore and nocturnal, the Yowie is elusive but can exhibit curiosity or extreme aggression, regularly killing or scaring the shit out of pets. It primarily hangs out in densely forested areas along the eastern seaboard, from southern Queensland to Victoria, with sightings across all mainland states and Tasmania. In a chilling turn, recent reports suggest its hunting range is expanding towards residential areas. Historical accounts say there are 2 types of Yowie in Australia. One being a 12-foot tall, big, giant, hairy fuck you monster. The other a smaller, 4 to 5 foot tall, stocky, cute little mischievous furball. Shit. Stop laughing. The other, a smaller, 4 to 5 foot tall, stocky, cute little mischievous hairball. All right, now let's get into it. In September of 2020, a 40-year-old man went camping alone near Jarradale in Western Australia. He'd camped at that dam before, never had an experience. Hardly any animal activity out there. No kangaroos, no wallabies, nothing. Just thick bush. One short ATV track that ends at a wild pig trap, and then nothing but untouched scrub. He pushed past the trap with a machete, cutting through the bracken fern, when he found something strange. A huge game trail. It led down to a lake, then back up the hill. He followed it for about 65 feet. That's when he saw fingers. Not the full hand, just 4 short, thick digits sliding behind a tree trunk. Hair halfway down the fingers. Yellow, square, broken nails. Gray, almost silvery dark skin. He froze. He's been chased by huge prehistoric-looking birds in North Queensland. Had close calls with several huge crocs. His instinct isn't fight or flight. It's freeze and assess. As he slowly stepped back, it stepped out. It was standing on a tree root, later measured around 4 to 4.5 feet tall. It was as wide as he was at the shoulders. Arms long, hands hanging past the knees, stumpy but powerful legs, thick red-black hair, dark overall, but when it hit full sunlight, the tips flared a deep reddish tone. Its face was wrong. Human, but not quite. Conical head, heavy brow, wide eyes reflecting fear at first. Mouth partly open like it was pulling in a huge breath. Then the fear turned to rage. It peeled its lips back. Yellow teeth, slightly longer canines than ours, but not gorilla fangs. Just enough to look fucking scary. It raised its arms over its head, classic primate threat display, and took 2 hard steps toward him. He snapped into a taekwondo stance on instinct, hands up. The thing hauled ass like a goddamn Olympic sprinter, 50 meters straight uphill in like 5 or 6 seconds. At the top, it grabbed a rock and hurled it back toward him. It screamed right as the rock left its hand, high-pitched at first, then dropping into a throated roar. He said it rattled his eyeballs, like it vibrated his skull. The rock whipped past his face, smashed into a tree behind him. Then it ran down the opposite side of the hill, crashing through bush for another 50 meters before fading out. He went back to camp and cried. Full-grown man, shaken. That night, he moved inside a high barbed wire water corporation compound after closing time, tossed his gear over the fence, and stayed low. No fire, just a tiny cooker. He heard one wood knock. Later, a stick landed on his tent. Could have been trees, could have been something else. At one point, he felt watched. Not menacing, just curious. And then it stopped. In the morning, he got the fuck out of there. Later, when he returned with his brother, they found a massive X structure interlocked between a dead tree and a living one, nearly 30 feet high. It wasn't there before. They didn't go near it. He never smelled the creature, never felt washed beforehand, but he saw the pads of its feet, same gray tone as the hands, wide as hell, short, caked in bush debris. The rest of the body? Surprisingly clean. He doesn't camp alone anymore, and no shit. He's convinced the rangers know something. I bet they do. Because whatever screamed that day, that wasn't any animal he'd ever heard in the Australian bush. And it sure as hell wasn't human. In the beginning, European contact with the Yowie is said to have begun with the arrival of the First Fleet in Sydney Cove in 1788. During the early colonial the area where colonials were. During the early colonial era, Aborigines often warned British settlers to beware of an ape-like creature lurking in the rugged mountains and deep forests of the continent. Local Aboriginal references call them wood archers. One particular account, which reached London in a letter in 1820, told of an encounter in 1789 by convicts and a party of Marines while on a hunting trip. The men killed a bunch of wallabies and were returning to the settlement when, on top of a nearby hill, they saw an animal watching them from the trees, which they later claimed was twice the height of an ordinary man. It's in the book. In 1804, the book Modern Geography, a description of the empires, kingdoms, states, and colonies with the oceans, seas, and isles in all parts of the world, that's a hell of a title, was published by John Pinkerton. In it, there is a comment regarding a population of Aborigines that shared Sydney Harbor with another tribe. They were described as flat-nosed with wide nostrils, thick eyebrows, and sunken eyes. Their mouths were of prodigious width, with thick lips and prominent jaws. The Aborigines regarded them as another people entirely, the Yahoos or Yowies, meaning hairy people. Yowie hanging with loggers. Arguably, one of the stranger and more controversial sightings comes in the form of a photograph from 1936. It's one of a series of images taken by Rich Jones while working at an isolated loggers camp in Batlow, located in the snowy mountains of New South Wales, about 279 miles southwest of Sydney. The image appears to show a large creature sitting with his hands on his lap behind two men on a wooden log. Further analysis of the photo shows the head resting near its chest, looking down. A Queensland Senator sighting. Queensland Senator Bill O'Chee said he saw a Yowie as a child when he was on a school trip. The encounter took place on October 22, 1977, near Coonjawari Campground in the Southbrook region of southeast Queensland. O'Chee was a student on a school trip along with about 20 other classmates and teachers when the sighting happened. The group reported seeing a large, hairy, bipedal creature described as roughly 8 or 9 feet tall, covered in hair with a flat face. Witnesses said it walked sideways in a crab-like way. They watched the animal through binoculars with repeated sightings over several hours. The creature approached near the camp, coming as close as around 30 feet from the cabins, and was seen ripping up shrubs around the area. O'Chee told reporters that the experience was vivid and unforgettable, and he maintained his belief in what he saw decades later. The same Springbrook National Park region had multiple Yowie reports over several months from late 1977 into early 1978. Up close and personal. Then, in mid-August 1997, Katrina Tucker witnessed the Yowie on her mango farm in Acacia Hills, about 43 miles south of Darwin in the Northern Territory. A rural, wooded area that had several unusual reports in the late 1990s. Katrina and her husband had repeatedly heard strange howling-like calls coming from a ridge about 3 to 6 miles away for years. The howls were high-pitched and unlike any known wildlife she knew. Even her guard dogs didn't like them. In late winter of that year, she woke up at around 3 a.m. to intense, loud calls close to her property. Thinking an animal might be trapped, she rode an ATV up a slight incline toward the sound. Man, I hope she's packing. As her headlights swept across the area, she nearly collided with a large, upright, hairy creature about 8 feet away. She described it as roughly 6.5 to 7 feet tall, covered in dark, matted, reddish-brown hair, with long arms, sloping shoulders, no neck, and its arms not moving like a human's when it ran. It It ran in a hunched, wide-striding way, bending at its knees more than elbows, with a side-to-side sway, seeming more animal than human. A disgusting smell hit her, described like a bat cave mixed with chicken shit and piss. That made her nearly gag. The next day, she found large footprints around the damaged fence line, some with 3 big toes and a thumb-like protrusion, suggesting a heavy creature was there. Some prints were even cast by Northern Territory museum staff, although they later expressed skepticism. But Yowie investigator Andrew McGinn said after speaking with Miss Tucker, he had no doubt her story was true. "After I met this lady, I found she was clearly terrified," he said. Her guard dogs normally charged toward threats, but instead cowered. This was highly unusual behavior for her dogs that were very familiar with bush wildlife. Steve Piper sighting. A Canberra bushwalker, Steve Piper, was filming scenery when he noticed something unusual moving in the scrub and captured it on video. He filmed an unknown bipedal beast in the Brindabella Mountains and captured what he believes to be the mysterious Yowie on film in September 2000. Footage that's since become known as the Piper film. That film has achieved notoriety among cryptid enthusiasts, much like the Patterson-Gimlin film from the United States that shows Bigfoot. Here's the video. Check this shit out. Dog dies in mysterious creature attack. In April 2009, one such case involved Yowie investigator Andrew McGinn, who claimed the death and mutilation of a pet puppy south of Darwin could have very well been the result of an attack by the Yowie. The dog's owners thought their 7-month-old puppy, which had its head separated from its body, was mauled to death by dingoes. But McGinn, who's been researching Yowies for more than a decade, said it was highly possible the hairy-ass ape beast was responsible for the attack. "The way the dog was killed was pretty typical of a Yowie," he said. "I know it sounds wild, but for the past 100 years, dogs have been killed or even decapitated." People swear they felt watched, and their goats vanish after folks spot a tall, hairy creature lurking nearby just days before. Animal Planet audio recording. In May 26, 2012, a U.S. television crew has recorded what it believes is compelling audio evidence of the existence of Yowies. The 4-member team from Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot series were on an expedition through remote forests spanning the Queensland and the New South Wales border when they made the recordings. Bigfoot Field Research Organization member James Bobo Fay said that of the more than 20 expeditions conducted around the world by the TV team, this was maybe the best one as far as audio recordings. Fay said that in 2 different locations they had activity that they had attributed to the Yowie. "We got some really compelling audio," he said. "It's not a known species, I can tell you that. One of the details convinces us there is nothing else it could have been." Their discovery comes as scientists from Oxford University and Lausanne Museum of Zoology are preparing to use new DNA analysis techniques to determine whether creatures such as Yowies, Bigfoot, Sasquatches, or Yetis exist. The European scientists have asked other scientists, museum curators, and Bigfoot tracking groups to share samples thought to be from the ape-like creature. Brian Sykes of Oxford University told the Associated Press the research group had already received offers of samples to test, including blood, hair, and items chewed by Bigfoot. Fay is still stoked with having captured the Australian Yowie sound on tape. "When at first we all heard it, we were like, 'No way,'" he recalls. "If you were in North America, you could have written off one of the compelling things we heard as being a large bear. But there are no large bears here." Yowie sighting on Skid Row in Queensland. The 3 men could hardly believe their eyes. There, on a darkened street in Queensland, Australia in December 2021, they'd come face to face with a Yowie. "We were in utter disbelief of what we were seeing," said Sterling Slowcock Bennett, who spotted the elusive cryptid alongside Seamus Fitzgerald and 1 other man, all of whom work on a plantation. He added, "It definitely was a scary moment for me. As I said, I was so confused and shook of what we were seeing, and as we got closer and closer, it didn't make sense like you'd hope." The 3 men came across the Yowie on December 4th as they made their way to the Jimna base camp. As they tell it, they first noticed a slouched figure lurking under a streetlight. Fitzgerald described the beast as having an ape-like face and long arms. "We initially thought it was a boar or a really big animal until we got closer and saw it run off in a very ape-like way," Fitzgerald explained. The experience left him shaken and questioning his understanding of the world. "I've never really had a paranormal or strange experience like that before," he said, adding, "I hardly slept that night, and the feeling was overwhelming that I had seen something that I never believed in previously." This sighting was unique in that it was a group of 3 men who all saw the Yowie at the same time, corroborating each other's stories and lending them credibility. Burra Range sighting. Trucker Steve Webb has seen a lot on Australian roads in his 30-year. Trucker Steve Webb has seen a lot on Australian roads in his 30 years as a trucker. But what he encountered on the Flinders Highway on December 28, 2022, left him bloody speechless and dumbfounded. The Burra Range sits deep in Queensland, a 3-hour drive dead smack into the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Steve was driving his rig, as he has done many times, and decided to make a quick pit stop. It was about 1 a.m. when he pulled over, jumped out with his flashlight and went around checking the tires. He gets to the back of the rig and hears something moving in the bushes behind him, like something is moving through them. Turning to see what it was and expecting to see a kangaroo, he shines his flashlight into the bush. He doesn't see shit until he hears a fair commotion in the bushes by the roadside, and when he shines the flashlight in that direction, he almost shit his drawers. He sees a massive, hairy-ass creature running on all fours across the road into the bush on the other side and out of sight. And before you say it was a bear, the only bear in Australia is a koala bear. I don't think it was a fucking killer koala bear. Alright, this is the spot in the video where I usually talk about explanations, both the skeptical and the believer. But not this time. I'm going to mix it up. While researching the Yowie, I ran across some fucking awesome video evidence. So feast your eyes on this montage of evidence I found instead. Check this shit out. Australia has fooled people before. When settlers shipped a specimen of the platypus back to London, experts took one look at the duckbill, beaver tail, otter feet, egg-laying mammal and basically said, "This is bullshit. Somebody stitched this fucking thing together." It took multiple specimens to be turned in before they finally admitted they were wrong. Ape man legends exist across the planet, and Australia is no exception. A continent that fucking massive, with stretches of bush most people will never step foot in, doesn't exactly come with a full inventory list. Skepticism is healthy. Blind dismissal? That's just chicken shit. Modern reports haven't stopped. Hikers, campers, locals in remote pockets, they all describe the same heavy movement in the tree line. The same eerie howls echoing off the hills. The same footprints that don't match anything in a textbook. Sure, some are misidentifications, and I'll give you some are hoaxes. But the wilderness that once made scientists look foolish is still out there. Which brings us back to Cower Dam. Same bush, same ass, same bush, same isolation, same dark tree line. Maybe it's folklore, maybe it's bullshit, or maybe, like the platypus, the joke isn't on the witnesses, it's on the naysayers. Do you like weird-ass monsters and government conspiracies? Then tap that like button and subscribe. That way, you won't miss out on more of my fucked up commentary. And besides, I really do appreciate it. Oi! Who do y'all think would win in a knockdown, drag-out MMA fight between a Yowie and a Bigfoot? Let me know down in the comments. Personally, I don't know, but I'd sure as hell pay good money to see it. And if you're ready to crank that shit all the way up to 11, that join button's got your name on it. For just $2.99, you can have my back in a huge fucking way. Until next time, y'all keep it real, keep it chill, and stay creepy! Catch you on the flip. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. You are the real beast.